Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and a realistic path to 100K. We did a video on this a couple weeks ago. I want to do another video to discuss, implications of a few different scenarios. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So a couple weeks ago, I mentioned a path to 100K Bitcoin likely does not include a V-shaped recovery followed by an immediate move to 100K. And I stand by that statement. I don't think we will have a V-shaped recovery. I think we're in for a longer consolidation period that's not going to be over tomorrow. Now, we also need to discuss that in order to really go to 100K, we really need to get back above the 20 week and then hold it as support. Now, you might say, well, Ben, to go to 100K, of course you have to get above the 20-week SMA. I mean, that's just common sense. Like, you can't go to 100K if you don't get above 50K, right? Which is, it's at 49K or so, 48K, the 20-week SMA. But the point is not to just get above it. The point is to hold it as support. Back in 2019 and 2020, I speculated that we might not see a sustainable 20K until the end of 2021, or even early 2022. Now, obviously, the times have changed a lot since then, but I was very clear in my definition of what I meant by a sustainable 20K. I meant we need to hold the bull market support band as support above 20K. We have not done that yet. We have not held it as support above 20K. The last time we held it as support was at 10K. Okay, and believe me, guys, I don't need Bitcoin to go to 20K or anything by the end of the year. Like, I don't really care, but we have not fulfilled that yet, where we've actually held the bull market support band above 20K. And that is what I'm looking for before we can actually have a realistic chance to make a move to 100K. So what needs to happen, in my opinion, is at some point, this is already starting to roll over. The 20-week SMA is already going to start to roll over. And it could act as some resistance for a few months if we're not able to have a decisive move back up to the upside. It's acted as resistance before. Whenever we get above it, we have to be careful. We have to hold it as support when we go back down and test it. You can see we did not hold it as support here. This time, we did hold it as support. But you can see over here, we just kept getting rejected by it. We just kept getting rejected essentially all the way down, and we were not able to actually go back and hold it as support, even if on any given week we went above it. So, with that in mind, when we're looking at a realistic path to get to that 100K milestone for Bitcoin, we need to have this consolidation phase, which I think will last longer than people might expect, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are still assuming that Bitcoin is going to have a market cycle peak in September, which I sincerely doubt. I sincerely doubt that's going to happen, as I've been saying for years and years and years. What I would say is that we need to get above the 20-week, hold it as support, and it needs to happen above 20K. Whenever that happens, I'm going to be bullish on Bitcoin going to 100K. Until that happens, we are playing in the sandbox, okay? We're little kids playing in the sandbox, getting excited over $1,000 move by Bitcoin or a $2,000 move by Bitcoin. Even if it pumps back up to here and it gets rejected, who cares? We need to get above it. We need to hold it as support, and then I will be very 100K Bitcoin, here we come. Okay? Until that happens, I'm still going to remain somewhat skeptical as to how quickly that can happen. To be completely transparent, I did not think we would go to 64K by April. Okay, so let me be clear about that. But now with where we are, Bitcoin has sort of paved the road, at least part of the way to 100K. I mean, it paved the road up to 64K. But from this point, I think that we're going to have some consolidation for a while. As I've mentioned in several videos, it likely will not be a V-shaped recovery. but instead a more long and drawn out process. When you talk about like worst case scenario, we've talked about potentially going back down to maybe this trend line. This would be like worst case scenario. This is just a line on a chart, so we should be clear about that. It's just a line on a chart. No one's going to be taking a line on a chart to the bank. But if you look at other moving averages, like maybe the 50-week could offer some support at 28.8. It's currently, it's moving up relatively quickly. There's the 100-week, and then there's the 200-week SMA. Now, these would be the areas that we would want to hold as support, and maybe we could bounce off of to get back above the 20-week SMA. The first one being the 50-week. There have been times we bounce off the 50-week before and have fairly significant rallies back up to the 20-week SMA. So I'm going to be looking for a bounce off of that level at some point, whether it happens soon at 29K, or if a few more weeks pass, it's going to continue to move up. Maybe it happens at 30K or higher. But that's one of the milestones to maybe look at. You also have the 100-week SMA, which is quickly approaching 20K, and the 200-week is actually just now approaching 13K, which is still a ways off from that 20K milestone. I don't know how far down Bitcoin's going to go. I think that we need to have a moment where we hold the 20-week SMA above 20K for several months. Not just like a week or something, but at least a couple months, like we did back in September and October, and maybe from there, whenever that happens, whether it happens next week, next month, in 5 months, in a year, I don't know. Whenever that happens, that's when I'll be bullish on it's going to 100K. My guess is that the 20-week SMA is going to act as some resistance for a while. I do not see Bitcoin putting in a new all-time high in June. I highly doubt it'll do it in July. I sincerely doubt it'll do it in August. I just don't see Bitcoin putting in a new all-time high that quickly. If it does, great. We'll pack our bags, ready for 100K. I just want people to temper their expectations and to realize that things can get bearish when we're below the 20-week SMA, and that we often just do not see an immediate bounce back up to the upside. We covered this when things were bullish, right? When we said over here, when we had this pullback, we said, well, hey, the momentum is still likely up because we're still above the 20-week SMA. When we had this pullback, we said, well, the momentum is still likely up. We're above the 20-week SMA. Right now, we're below it. So I'm not convinced that we're going to have a V-shaped recovery like we had over here. This was basically a V-shaped recovery. This was basically a V-shaped recovery. I'm not convinced that this is going to be a V-shaped recovery like a lot of people are calling for. Again, I think it's more likely that we need some consolidation in the market for several months at the very least before we can decisively put in new all-time highs. Again, what I'll be looking for is realistically, testing the 20-week SMA, holding it as support for several months. First, we got to get above it, right? Then we need to come back down to it, hold it as support, and then, and only then, am I going to be very bullish on 100K Bitcoin. Until then, we're just little kids playing in the sandbox, quibbling over $1,000 moves. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember to check out the sale on the premium list, lock in the lower rate. It's only going to last for about 6 more days or so. So if you want to lock in the lower rate, find out how I'm navigating these markets, check out the sale in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.